Right. So yesterday we have discussed about the agile part, as you know, like user story development, followed by acceptance criteria. So that one we have done. So what we have completed so far about that introduction part, SDLC, stages of SDLC, models of software development life cycle. In that we have discussed even about agile, all that. Now, whatever are we discussing now is what we call it as knowledge areas of business analysis. Knowledge areas. Now, what is meant by a knowledge area? Knowledge area is nothing but it is being prescribed by IABA, but IABA is an international body of business analysis. So, which has prescribed some knowledge areas, a person who wants to get experienced as a business analyst. Means, for example, if you as an individual, if we as an individual wants to showcase our experience into business analyst, these knowledge areas experience is something essentially important. Unless until these knowledge areas experience we haven't gone through, officially you cannot claim that you had experience of BA. Means if you are a BA, you must be going through all this. Means these activities you have to perform. So these are as follows. You can see here where there is a two different things which I am showing you here. One is 2.0 and 3.0. So 2.0 version and 3.0 over a period of time, usually this is a continuous practice. Maybe 4.0 may get in future. Depends on the market conditions. Depends on the outside industry needs and all that. So IAVA will changes few knowledge areas from here to there. That's it. You don't see much difference because if you see enterprise analysis as a knowledge area, so earlier it is enterprise analysis. Now it was included even strategy even. Right? So we are calling it as strategy analysis. Earlier we used to have requirements management and communication. Means how to manage requirements and how to communicate requirements. Now we were calling that as complete as requirement lifecycle management. Means tracing out the requirements, managing the requirements, prioritizing the requirements. All these things were taken into account. So the requirements were changing from time to time. So whatever the terminologies and all everything will also happen in the same manner. At the same time, you can see even the requirement analysis, even now we call it as requirement analysis design definition and all. So more or less almost on the same. You don't see much difference. It comes one by one, right? So one is about first business analysis planning and monitoring is what we do first. Second, elicitation, followed by requirements, life cycle management. Next, enterprise analysis or strategy analysis. Next, requirement analysis, design definition, followed by solution assessment and validation. Solution assessment and validation is the final thing. Means you are providing solutions to the customer in a form of whatever the solution are you going to provide. So it's a final solution you are giving based on the observation what we had, all that. So this is what we call it as solution assessment and validation stands for. Now let's get back to the first knowledge area as I mentioned earlier, which normally we call it as business analysis planning and monitoring. The first thing what is that being a BA you have to do is you need to do business analysis planning and monitoring in the first level. So when we talk about this, there are different tasks which we have to be focused more on. There are different tasks and the business analysis planning and monitoring. These are the different tasks you can see here. The first task, what is that you have to do is that you need to plan business analysis approach. This is the first one. Second, you need to plan stakeholder engagement. Followed by this, we need to plan business analysis governance even. Next, information management, followed by identifying the performance improvements. So these are the different tasks which will be a part of the first knowledge area, which is called business analysis planning and monitoring. So whatever am I explaining now, This is an official way of handling the work as far as the BA itself is concerned, as per the IIBA standards. The very first thing, being a business analyst, what is that we have to do for any of the projects? Because it may vary. Because in the beginning, if you remember, I told you there will be some situations where we'll be joining in middle of the project. Sometimes we join in the middle of the projects. Sometimes no. Sometimes we join. Sometimes we join from the starting onwards, so that you don't see any difficulty in it. But sometimes not. Sometimes we'll be joining in middle of the project. Sometimes due to the urgency of the client or a customer or something. Otherwise, normally we join right from the beginning itself. So whenever we joined in any project, the very first thing under business analysis planning is you need to plan business analysis approach. So this business analysis approach majorly focuses on understanding and as well as planning the business analysis by selecting the kind of methodologies where it majorly focuses on who are the individuals who are involving in the project, because we need to, being a BA, you need to have a clear understanding about who are involving in the project. You need individuals and interactions is what it is. At the same time, we must be knowing about what are the different tasks are they performing, followed by the deliverables. Business analyst should have a clear understanding about the kind of individual activities they were playing. Not only the individual activities, what are the different tasks they were performing, followed by the deliverables, all that. So this is the first task which, being a business analyst, we have to do under the first knowledge area. So that you will be knowing about what are all the activities and what are the responsibilities doing by the business, by the other team members. At the same time, what finally the deliverables these people has to provide must be known to us well in advance. So we have to understand the list of activities of the people, whoever are involving in the project. At the same time, what are their tasks, followed by deliverables. Next, we need to plan stakeholder engagement. Now, here is a question. So, what is meant by stakeholder engagement stands for? And before getting into stakeholder engagement, let's understand who are stakeholders. Stakeholder is a word normally we use for the people whoever is directly involving indirectly in any of the projects. So those people we call it as stakeholders. Normally, stakeholder is a word will be used for the customer usually, right? So this is how generally the perception we have. Then extent possible, whatever is right. But the full extent, if you see, stakeholder is a word normally we use especially in projects, which is referring to the people who are involving in the project, either in a form of direct or in a form of indirect, either directly or indirectly, whoever are involving in the project, those people we call it as stakeholders. This is point number one, right? Plan stakeholder engagement is the first one. So, but now, why is this important? Why stakeholder engagement is required, and for what reason it is needed for you as a BA? So this is the next question. Any business analyst aspirant will have a doubt, right? So why do we require to know about stakeholder engagement? Because anyway, people involvement will be there. We understood. So depends on their role and all other thing, they will be involved. So then, what is to do with business analyst? So here, first of all, we have to identify the stakeholders into two different parts. One is external stakeholders, second is internal stakeholders. One is external stakeholders, second internal stakeholders. So how is it different? External stakeholders means people who are supporting us from outside. Those people we call as external stakeholders. Means these people are supporting us throughout the project from out of the box, right? So they don't, they will not be within the limits of the project. So they'll be out of the limits. So that from there onwards, they'll be supporting us. So whatever the participation and all, everything will be to an extent possible. It is nominal from them. So I don't say nominal. When it is required, so they'll be assisting us. So in whatever the meaning could be. But other times not. Second is internal stakeholders. Internal stakeholders doesn't mean people who are supporting us from inside. Means people who are working within the system is what we call it as internal stakeholders are. So stakeholders we are dividing into two different parts. One is external people, second is internal people. So external stakeholders means people who are supporting us from outside, and in internal stakeholders doesn't mean people who are supporting us from inside. Both managing these people is a task which business analyst has to be taken care of, because as we are there for understanding about the requirements of the people, interacting with multiple stakeholders. So it is our responsibility throughout the project where we have to focus more on all these. We have to take care of. Means we need to focus more on the stakeholders, the list of stakeholders, what they do, why they do, right? So what is that they were doing? Everything we must be knowing. That's what generally this stakeholder engagement and all of it comes into picture. But if that was the case, why is it needed? So why is it why stakeholder engagement is needed, and why we are taking it as the highest priority in the beginning of the career of a PE when the project starts. Now, in a process of providing the services, in a process of providing or I trying to understand the requirements or providing solutions to the client or a customer. In this process, normally we have to interact with multiple people. There are different perceptions, ideas, beliefs, expectations of the customers and stakeholders and all everything will be there. So managing all these at the same time, by keeping all these people's consideration into an account is also essentially important for any business analyst. It's not something something that we don't consider anyone, right? So we have to consider each and every person who is related to the project, either directly or indirectly. You need to be in touch with them, because you never know what kind of people they come from, right? So because some people may be in the stage of decision making, some people may be involving in the project directly. So there are different things. So some people will be like this, some people will be like that. Now, what is that we have to do now? So first of all, if that was the case, means if there is a case, if there is a situation that we need to interact with, or we need to be in touch with all the stakeholders, if that was the case, if you see the number will be somewhere around. Uh, it may crosses even sometimes 40 to 50 people. Sometimes it may process to 40 to 50 people even. Right? So even sometimes it may go up to 40 to 50. So practically it is not viable for us to manage first the people who are in the huge numbers throughout the project, because it's not the single day activity, because you're not doing it for 1 or 2 days. So you're doing this for almost for about 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. So whichever the timelines we have, so we need to we interact with all these people throughout the project. So if that was the case, managing the people who are in the large number by without knowing what is their importance level, right? What is their decision making level, all that, without knowing them, interacting with them and all everything, which is not something I call which is not something viable, right? Which is not something viable. That's the reason why stakeholder engagement is what we have to do. We have to do the stakeholder engagement. So what is that we do in stakeholder engagement? In stakeholder engagement, this will be again divided into two parts. One is stakeholder analysis. First is stakeholder identification. The first is stakeholder identification. Second is stakeholder analysis and management. So two different things. One is stakeholder analysis, stakeholder identification. Second, stakeholder analysis and management. So we have to divide it into two different parts. Now, what is stakeholder identification is? Stakeholder identification, nothing but how you are going to identify the stakeholders is what we have to see. So why do we require to do that? Because sometimes there are possibilities. Sometimes there are possibilities. Identifying the right stakeholders is essentially required and important. So when you talk about identification of the stakeholders, on what basis this aggregation we do? Because number cannot be managed with the huge, right? So huge number cannot be managed throughout the project. Because again, taking all the concerns, right, so perceptions, beliefs, and all everything, we never know, right? So again, satisfying all the customers or the stakeholders and all everything is not practically possible. So we can't focus on the deliverables. So stakeholder identification we do based on two different things. One is power, second is interest. The first one is power, second is interest. Let me show you one. Here. So if you can see here, this is what generally it is. So one is power, second is interest. So based on the power, based on the interest, stakeholders identification will be done first. Means why power and interest we have taken? Because there is a reason. Power leads to decision making. Interest leads to involvement. So the major difference why we have taken to identify the stakeholders based on these two grounds, because power leads to decision making, second interest leads to involvement. These are two things required for us. So people should be in a decision making role, so that whatever the decision it could be, either we may be changing the requirements in between, or you may be relating to the timelines, it may be relating to the budget, right? So which is not guaranteed. So anything it could be. So there are some timelines, there are things, there are few activities which has to be performed ways where we need to be focused more on what are the different timelines do we have and all other thing is what we have to see. So you need to know and you need to have a clear understanding about to whom we need to be speaking. So in terms of the decision levels and that all that stuff, we must be knowing about to whom are we meeting with all that. That's the reason why power will be taken into account, because power leads to decision making, so that it is easy for us to meet the right person. So end of the day, why are we doing all this? Because you need to meet the right person for the right decision. That was the intention behind this. You need to meet the right person for the right decision. So if you are not meeting the right person for the right decision, so then there will be of no value at all. At the same time, interest. Interest means people whoever is having interest on the project. Involvement means people who are involving in the project. That is what generally we call as interest or involvement stands for. Now, when you talk about power and interest as a foreign interest field as a stakeholder identification, so this will be again divided into four different parts. One is high power, high interested people, comes under first category. Second category, high power, low interested people. Third category, low power, high interested people. Fourth category, low power and low interested people. So this is how generally we are segregating it. High power, high interest, high power, low interest, low power, high interest, low power and low interest. That's how generally we segregate. Now, high power, high interested people we have to see. Who are comes under high power, high interested people? High power, high interested people, nothing but people whoever is having power followed by the interest on the project. So now, if you see high power, high interest, who are comes under that category? High power, high interested people, nothing but business owner, technical owner, project management team, or a business analyst, architect of the project. These people will have high in power. These people will have high in interest. So these people have power. followed by interest equally. So high power, high interested people who business owner, technical owner, project management team, business analyst team, architect. So these people are in the decision making front. Because if you see a business analyst is responsible, or business analyst decision making is important. Maybe when there is any changes in requirements or timelines or budget or something. Maybe technical owner requirement is essentially needed for us relating to the technology part. At the same time, project manager may be timelines and cost budgeting. Business analyst may be in terms of the requirements, understanding or something of that. At the same time, architects are the people who will be used for developing architecture for the project all this. So high power, high interested people are comes under the first category. So high power, high interested people, what we have to do is that we need to manage them closely. This is what generally we have to do. High power, high interested people, we have to manage them closely. So means right from each and every stage of decision making, what is that are we taking? So these people involvement will be there. That's what we need to understand. So because these people involvement will be there in each and every stage of the project is what happens in first level, high power, high interested. Second is high power, low interested people. High power, low interested people, subject matter experts, SMEs, we call it as. Normally we call them as SME subject matter experts. Not only subject matter experts, we can even consider and call them as what we call not only subject matter experts, I can say even shareholders of the organization, people who has invested money in the organization. Those people also can be considered as comes under the high power and low interested people. Means who like investors, right? So who has invested money in the organization, whatsoever reason. Because end of the day, investor has invested money for what reason? End of the day, investor has invested money to acquire some profits of it. So normally their interest will be lies only on that. Their interest will not be lies on anything else. So this is what we have to see. Right. So high power and low interested people like nothing but SME subject matter experts. At the same time, not only subject matter experts, we must be knowing about who we called uh, like investors of the organizations, means shareholders of the organization, means the shareholders of the firm who has invested money in the organization is what we call it as shareholder stands for. So those people you need to satisfy email because subject matter experts who is having subject on who is having a clear understanding about the subject.
You have really low voice. We are hearing. You can
Just
see the
a
chat.
moment. Just a moment. Please be online.
Thank you.
How about now? Am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yeah. Yes, you are. Yeah, but it's still, it's a low volume. Not so
How
clear.
about now? How about now? Can you check once?
I think it's a little clearer than earlier.
Now?
One more time, increase the volume, please.
How about now?
Now increase it.
Yeah. How is my voice now? Is it clear?
It's kind of clear, but it's still a low volume.
Now?
Would you please?
How,
Yeah,
how about now?
it's okay now.
I don't think we
Is,
had any issues.
is the voice clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, great. Right. So high power, high interested people comes under first category. Let me write down on the Word document so that you will be having a clear understanding about this. Yours is 5 kilobytes, right? Yeah. Right. So when you talk about stakeholder identification, power and interested are the two different things. So we are classifying this into again few different parts: high power, high interest, high power, low interest, low power, high interest, low power, low interest. Right. So this is what generally the four stakeholder identifications were: high power, high interested people, high power, low interested people, low power, high interested people, low power, low interested people. These are the four different categories. Now, high power, high interested people, nothing but business owner, maybe a technical owner, a project management team, business analyst, architect, and so on. Right. So these people are comes under the first category. These people are comes under high power, high interested category. Means these people will have power in the project. At the same time, not only power, these people will have an interest even, because these people are in the decision making level. Not only the decision making level, these people are involving even on the involvement even, right? So their involvement followed by the decision making, both will be applicable here. This is what the first category comes under that, right? So this is what we call it as high power and high interested people are all about. Now, so these high power, high interested people, like whoever is having high power, high interested people, these people we have to manage closely. These people we have to manage closely. So throughout the project, so these people involvement will be there, and these people involvement is becoming mandatory, because in each and every stage of project development, normally these people involvement will be there. This is what generally we call it as high power, high interested people are all about. Now the second one, high power, low interested people. So who are comes under high power, low interested people? High power, low interested people, nothing but subject matter experts. At the same time, shareholders of the organization. Right? So subject matter experts and shareholders of the organization. Who are shareholders? Shareholders means people who has invested money. Those people will be called as shareholders. People who has invested money, those people we call it as stakeholders and all that. So this is what generally the second one, high power and low interested people. So these people have a power in terms of the power these people have. These people even If required, they will be involving even in decision making if required, I'm saying, right? Otherwise, may not be. But as far as the interest itself is concerned, they'll have very lesser interest. Why? Because shareholders has invested money in the organization, so they don't see any kind of interest in doing anything else apart, right? So that's what general it is. So these people we have to satisfy. You need to keep satisfied, right? So this is the second one. Now, third people, low power and high interested people, especially developers, testing team, user interface designers, next end users, right? So these people will have low in power because these people doesn't have any power as such. But as far as the involvement, as far as the interest itself is concerned, is high because developers will be involving in the project to write the code. Even testing people are involving in the project to do the testing, all that stuff. User interface designers and all everything will be involved in the user interface designing, so all that. End users are nothing but people who are end of the day working on the application, right? So these people we call it as low power and high interested people. These are comes under low power and high interested category. So these people we have to inform. Means what are the changes and the activities are we performing in reference to the project. So that has to be informed to these people on regular intervals. This is what generally low power high interested stands for. Followed by that low power low interested people, nothing but other stakeholders, I can say the balance stakeholders and all everything. So these people are comes under other stakeholders who are comes under low power and low interested. So minimum effort itself is sufficient for them. Minimum effort is enough for us to do the stakeholder identification here. So stakeholder identification is the first thing. What is that we have to do so that you can identify the stakeholders first. Once the stakeholder identification done, the next is stakeholder analysis management. Stakeholder analysis and management, right? So the next question, next point is this. Stakeholder analysis and management. So for that, there is a matrix which normally we use called RACI matrix. We call it as RACI matrix. Whereas in this, R stands for responsible, A stands for accountable, S stands for support, C stands for consulted, I stands for informed. Responsible, accountable, support, consulted, and informed. This is what generally stakeholder analysis and management was, RACI matrix. Now, how we are going to use this RACI matrix? By using the people, whoever we have identified as stakeholders is the challenge. So for that, let me open in Excel sheet so that I will be showing it on. Right. So I'll be showing it on Excel sheet so that you will be understood well. Yeah. So the first one, first serial number. Second, tasks. Task. Next, shareholders, whoever we have identified. One is business owner, writing address as BO. technical owner, project management team, business analyst, architect, uh, mm, next subject matter expert, shareholders, next development team, next testing team, user interface designers, end users, right? So these people we have identified here. So these people we will be having, right? So now the first serial number, right? Let's say, let us write down the task. For example, changes in the project or changes in the requirement. Changes in the requirements. Maybe second one, timelines. Timelines. We need to discuss about the timelines of the project. Sometimes we may require. Next, third one, budget issues. Next, fourth one, timelines, budget issues, changes in requirements. Changes in requirements is the first point. Timelines is the second point. Budget issues is the third point. Fourth point is infrastructural changes. Right? So maybe infrastructure changes or software hardware changes, what it is. Right. So now these are the four we need to have, right? So these are the four is what we need to be discussed more of, right? So these are the, assume that these are the tasks we have throughout the project. Assume that I've just taken few as listed, but the requirements or the tasks may be n number. So which is not guaranteed, but I'm taking a few in this. I'm taking few in this. Now, when you talk about changes in requirements in reference to the role of the business owner, let us incorporate this RACI matrix into this. Let us incorporate this RACI matrix into this, right? RACI matrix is what we do for using stakeholder analysis, management, all that. Now, a business owner, when you talk about a business owner, is he responsible for changes in requirements? Is he accountable? Is his support required? Consultation needed or informed? So normally support and as well as information to be provided. So these are the two different things which is required for a business owner, because business owner is the person who owns the business and who manages the business. So his support and as well as information providing to them is essentially required. Now, when it comes to the technical owner, right? Support required, consultation needed, and we need to inform even. Because technical owner are the people who are relating to the technicalities, implementation of the project, all that stuff. So all obviously what is that we require is their involvement, their consultation, their support is essentially required to us. Now, when you talk about project manager, when you speak about project manager or someone, right? So when you talk about project manager or someone, project manager is the person who is responsible and accountable. Why? Because project manager is the person who is responsible for the whole project. What are the project we have? The complete project responsibility will be lies on the shoulders of a project management team. So responsibility and accountability will be more for a project manager. At the same time, equally, that is even equally with business analyst even, because BA is also responsible and accountable equally. Next, when it comes to the architect, the kind of role when we talk about the architect role, so architects are the people. So architects support is required and we need to consult them. Why? Because if there is any changes in requirements taken place, there are some possibilities that infrastructure, architectural changes might be required. So what is that we need to do? We have to take support and as well as consultation of architect even here. This is what generally we call it as support and consultation stands for. Next, subject matter expert. Consultation required and we need to inform, because subject matter expert, nothing but people, whoever is having knowledge on the particular thing. That's what generally we call it as SMEs. We call them as SMEs, subject matter experts. So subject matter experts involvement is required, right? So subject matter experts is, we need to inform subject matter experts. At the same time, consultation of subject matter experts is also required in reference to the changes and requirements taken place. Now, in reference to the shareholders who has invested money in the organization, you are simply informing them because they are nothing to do with anything relating to changes in requirements of the project, something like, because they are the one who has invested money for the project or for in the organization. So what is that they look is only the profits, right? So return of investment. This is how generally their perception will be, not in other sense. So this is what generally shareholders stands for. Now, after shareholders, the next is about development team. So development team and testing team. Yeah. So development team and testing team is the second thing, next level. So development team and testing team, their support is required. Their consultation is also needed because acceptable or not, whether do we, is it possible for us to accept those changes? Is it possible for us to update these changes in real environment or not, which has to make sure. So for that support and consultation of developers followed by the testing team is essentially required. Next, when it comes to user interface designers, right? So when you talk about user interface designs team, all that, right? So when you talk about user interface design team, all that. So user interface design team, consultation is required here, right? So because they are creating only user interfaces and all, so they are not working on coding or something. So their consultation is essentially needed. Next, end users, information will be provided for them. That itself is sufficient. Now, when you talk about stakeholder analysis and management, in reference to the tasks, what is that are we performing here? Changes in requirements is the first one. When we talk about changes in requirements and all, business owner support and support and as well as information providing to them is needed. Technical owner support, consultation, information providing is required. Business project management team responsible and accountable. Even business analyst is even equally responsible and accountable. Next, architect support and consultation is required. Subject matter expert consultation and information providing to them is needed. Shareholders need to provide information to them. Development team support consultation is required. Testing team support consultation is needed even. User interface designers consultation required. End users information to be provided to them. So these are the different tasks which being a business analyst we have to be focused more of in reference to the changes and requirements taken place. Now, when you talk about the timelines, as usual, support and information providing is needed. You are providing information to the technical owner in reference to the timelines, nothing much required. But responsibility and accountability are in the shoulders of a project manager and as well as the business analyst. Architect, you are simply informing them because there is nothing to do with timelines relating to architect part. You are informing the same with subject matter experts information here, but their support and information is required. Consultation and information has to be taken by these people because these people are the one who is working on the project. So those people has to give a clear understanding about development and testing, all that. Next, when it comes to the user interface designs, all this stuff, user interface designs and all, user interface designs, these people's information, if you can provide is sufficient, you don't require anything else apart, even for end users, even. Now, budget issues. Support and consultation of business owner is required. You are providing information to the technical owner because because end of the day, it is relating to the budget part. So technical owner is, we are taking technical owner into a context of information to be provided to them. We don't take anything else apart here. Now, in reference to the role of a project manager, right? So when you talk about the role of a project manager here and all, so project manager is in reference to the budget and all that. So project manager is responsible and accountable, because not only the project planning, within the specific timelines of the project has to be completed. Normally that responsibility will be taken care of by the project management team. Hence responsibility and accountability to the project manager is what I was mentioned here. Now, in reference to the role of a business analyst, we are not responsible and accountable for the financial issues, but consultation is what we do. Means, is it required to have any kind of budgetary issues and all everything? That consultation is required for any business owner here. In terms of the architecture and all, so consultation and information providing, because if there is any architectural changes happens, sometimes it may become expensive. So when you talk about consultation, budget issues and all that, consultation and information to be provided to the architects is essentially needed here as well. Next, when it comes to the subject matter experts, when we talk about SMEs and all that stuff, SMEs, the information providing to them is sufficient. Shareholder support is required, because they are the one who has invested money for the project or in any of the organization. So their support and information to be provided to them. So even for developer testing team, for them, no, right? So they are nowhere relating to the, they are nowhere relating to anything, right? So you don't require even to inform them relating to the budget part, because they are not from that context and they are not belongs to that category. Now, infrastructural changes. Infrastructural changes, support and consultation of business owner is required. Support, consultation, and information provided to the technical owner is needed. So responsibility and accountability is on the shoulders of a project management team. Next, infrastructural changes in terms of software and hardware I'm talking about. Right? So not routers, firewalls, all that. I'm not saying that. Infrastructure means any hardware, software changes and all that. So responsibility and accountability will be on project management team, but consultation as well as information will be provided for the business analyst, because we are not relating to system requirements, all that. Of course, our involvement will be there in each and every stage of the project, but we are not the decision makers in reference to the decision, what is that we are taking on the infrastructural changes, all that. Next, when it comes to the architect, the role of an architect, when we talk about architect, consultation is required, because if there is any architectural changes and all everything, so that is essentially needed. So consultation and as well as information providing to them is required here. Next, when we talk about subject matter experts and all that, subject matter experts, we are simply informing them relating to this. At the same time, shareholders also the same. But when it comes to hardware, software and all that, support and information providing, consultation and information providing to the development team, followed by the technical team, as well as user interface designers is also required. Next, here you are informing them to the end users here. So this is how generally the stakeholder analysis and management is what we do using RACI matrix. So this is for what reason stakeholder engagement we are doing. Stakeholder engagement is the one you are doing to identify the right person for the right decision. Means if you are not meeting the right person for the right decision, so then there will be of no value. Even the timeline, simply the timelines will go as usual, so that we don't get any kind of we don't have any value at all for that. So planning stakeholder engagement is essentially required, and it makes people to understand to whom we need to meet with, for what reason, right? So how long do we be in touch with these people? Because this is a continuous thing which we need to be focused more on regular intervals. So this has to be focused more by us here. This is what generally in reference to the tasks and all everything here. Now, the third one is about plan business analysis governance. Business analysis governance means the governance functionality of the organization is what we have to see. Because there are some decisions and as well as the involvements will be there as a role of BA, right? So we have to take some decision on some information relating to requirements, whatever are we managing the requirements, or it may be relating to the risk of the project, right? So because risk of the project may be of different types. It may be a schedule risk, it may be budget risk, it may be an operational risk, it may be regulatory risk, right? So risk will be of different types. So we need to take some update and all everything into risk management at the same time. We must be knowing about the allocation of business analysis resources, all that. So there is some business analysis governance system and mechanism which has to be designed, which has to be drawn before you are going to gather the requirements. Please remember, being a BA, the first tasks, whatever are we talking about, is not requirements gathering. We don't do it. Requirements gathering, understanding, all these things comes under the next level. So before you are getting into all that, so first of all, you need to understand the approach of the business analysis, where you need to identify the activities of the people, followed by the tasks and deliverables. Next, we need to know who are stakeholders and how and what stakeholder management we need to do. That must be known to us. At the same time, what is the business analysis governance standard mechanism procedure do we require to follow is what we have to plan in the third level. Next, information management means how you are going to manage the information, means how you are collecting the information. So before you are managing the information and all, how you are collecting it, right? How you are capturing it. Means are we going directly to the customer location and we are gathering the information? First point. Second point, are we meeting them virtually? Is it that we are sharing some documents, presentations, or some technical white papers and all everything? Or is there any reference information is being given by the customer in a different disguised formats to us or not? So we must be knowing about how and what way are we collecting the requirements. Collecting means capturing the requirements. At the same time, how do we require to store whatever we have captured or whatever we have collected? How you are going to store that, how you are going to integrate this, and how you are going to use and manage and use this information throughout the project. So how you are going to do means you are going to the location and you are collecting the information, or are we connecting virtually? If you are connecting, to whom we need to connect with? So what information to be taken from them?
Java. Java. So ni class
So what information to be taken into account?
phone
Please mute yourself.
online
Please mute yourself. There is some disturbance. Right. So we must be knowing about what are the different requirements do we have, and how to capture those requirements, how to store the requirements, how to integrate the requirements, and all everything should also be known in this level. This is what we talk about information management. Last but not least, we need to identify what are the different performance improvement measures to be taken in order to make it more convenient and successful. So this is all comes under business analysis performance improvements. So on a single note, if you see, when you talk about business analysis planning and monitoring, this is the first knowledge area. First of all, we need to plan the business analysis approach, followed by the stakeholder engagement we have to do. Means we need to identify who and what and how the stakeholder management to be done. That should be known. Next, what are the governance mechanisms, standards, procedures to be followed? Next, how you are gathering and how you are managing the information of the one you have collected. What is way of capturing? What is way of storage, integration, and all that stuff. Next, what are identifying how we need to improve the performance and all, right? What kind of performance measures are we taking in order to improve it? All these things comes under the tasks. So these are the different activities being a business analyst we have to do in the beginning of the projects before you're going to start with. So before you're going for requirement illustration and collaboration, all that, being a BA, this is the first thing what is that we have to do. So this is all for today. Now, any questions on this? Is it now? Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm using.
Can you
So
please
I've
show
taken
the
my
Excel part
earphones
for a
out
second?
because I'm using earphones. That's the reason why there is a problem with voice, maybe. So I've taken out my earphones. Then I think now you're understanding it much clearer.
So can you explain the part you say plan business analysis governance?
Can you text me once? Can you text me your question? Text me, please. Please text.
Can you please show that Excel part for us?
Sorry?
Can you please show that Excel part for us?
Oh, 1 minute. Yeah, sure. Yes, this is what it is.
Thanks.
Any questions? I think it's good now.
Can you show me the Excel again?
Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, let me go through the questions. I'll just show you. Just 2 minutes. I'll show it to you. Because I'm just checking for questions. Yeah, I'll be showing it. See, it is not business, it is business analysis governance. It is for the question of Varsha Shrestha. It is about, it is not, I'm talking about data governance. It is all about business analysis governance. I'm talking about business analysis governance. Means what are the governance standards, procedures do we require to follow to perform some activities? That's what we call it as governance mechanism. So that's what we have to do in the beginning. Okay. I hope you understood. It's not data governance, it is business analysis governance. There is a difference. So we are not for data governance, we are for business analysis governance. Right. It is from the question of Fury Sherpa. Can you explain internal? Internal stakeholders means people who are involving directly in the project, like development team, testing team. So these people are involving in the project directly, right? So these people we call it as internal stakeholders. Means these people involvement will be there throughout the project in regular intervals. Business analysis governance, that's what I said. Business analysis governance means, for example, you are performing an activity. How you are performing, what standards are you following, what procedures are you following, to explain that. So that explanation is nothing but business analysis governance. Because we don't do the work the way what you feel, right? So that's not the way of doing it. So for everything, right? If you are going to collect the requirements, or if you want to take some decisions, or if you want to document something, right? Or if you want to meet someone, there is a standard and policies and procedures which has to be followed and which has to be framed prior. So following and all everything comes next. But end of the day, we need to frame all that, right? You're doing this task, this is the hierarchical process. This hierarchical process works this way. So unless until if you don't have all that, so then there is of no value for the activities. What is that we are performing? So people will take granted for anything, whatever they feel it is right. But that's not the case to do. Hence, business analysis governance system and the standards and procedures is what we have to define here. This is all the context was. Business owner and technical owner means this is from Pratishta Rai. Business owner and technical owner means who owns the business called as business owner. Technical owner means who is taking care of the technology of the project, technicalities of the project. Yeah, this Excel I'll show you. I'll do it now. I will see. I will upload this Excel sheet for 1 minute. Let me copy it on the possible on the Word document and I'll see now itself. so that you'll be seeing it. Otherwise, I'll send an Excel sheet to you. Yeah, whenever you are creating a project, so we have to do RACI matrix, because see, that's what I'm saying. You need to meet the right person for the right decision. When this decision has to be taken, this decision has to be taken at the beginning of the project. Whenever you are starting the work, first of all, you need to know who are our stakeholders, how to identify them, right? How to analyze and manage. If you do all this, then in future, you don't see any problem. So if you don't do, if you are not following all that, then there will be of no value nor use. So for every project, it is required. Yeah, business analysis itself starts with knowledge area in fundamentally, formally, if you see, because business analyst training is nothing but the knowledge areas. So these knowledge areas must be imparted to the people. That is required. Of course, whatever we have learned and all, everything were needed, but there are some knowledge areas which BA has to be clear with. That's what it is. I think these are the questions which I have got. So again, I'm showing you this Excel sheet. Just be online for a moment. Let me do one thing. I don't think it comes properly. I'm not sure. It will not come as what we see. Yeah? I'll send an Excel sheet to you. That's better, because anyway, because this alignment issues comes, it's better that I'll send you an Excel sheet to you guys. I will send you an Excel sheet. That itself is better rather than this. No, I'll send you an Excel here. It's no. I will send you an Excel sheet directly. This one, let me save it. I will forward it to you. Yeah, I'll share you this in Word in the WhatsApp group, so that you can see this, right? So this Excel sheet, I will do it. Yeah, I'll send you an Excel sheet to you, so that you can just simply download and you can use it. RACI matrix is very simple, Raj. RACI stands for responsible. Who is responsible? Who is support accountable? Whose support required? To whom we need to consult with? To whom we need to inform? That's what we call it as RACI matrix stands for. Simple. So it will be maintained by the business analyst. That's the reason why we are learning in the course of BA. Yeah, I'll forward that Excel sheet to you guys, so that you will be understood this better. Okay. Any questions on this? This, along with the Word document today, I will be sharing even this Excel sheet to you as well, so that you can go through that. Okay. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. See you then. We'll meet again tomorrow and we discuss about the second one, requirement illustration uh, techniques, all that stuff that I'm going to discuss in tomorrow's session. See you then. Bye.
Actually, Raj,
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, if you could give us some information about like what we're going to learn prior to the class, so that we can also look up something, so that when you explain
I'm
it.
not getting you. Can you come again, please?
I was wondering if you could send us whatever you're going to teach us, like for like tomorrow class, whatever you're going to teach. Could you send a brief note on that, like topics and stuff?
So that is not possible because every topic is new, right? Because I use different modes. Like sometimes I use presentation, sometimes I write it on the Word document. If I feel that presentation will be too complex to the person to understand, what I do simply I'll write it on the Word document and I'll explain to them. So that day-to-day wise, prior to that sending to the students are not practically won't work out because it raises a lot of these things. First of all, if people have a clear idea on the so and so subject, if I am sending, then it is different. So otherwise, what will happen when you talk about requirement illustration process or something like? So when you talk about requirement illustration, for example, tomorrow I'm going to discuss about requirement illustration technique. So what requirement illustration technique and all, everything I have to explain, right? So by just sending my presentation doesn't have any use, right? It sometimes each and everyone will understand from their own perception before I'm sending the class. So if you are coming with a clear mind, so whatever I say, you will be understood. Otherwise, before that, if I'm sending some information to you, so everybody cannot understand the way what it is, right? So people will prepare and people try to understand and come to a conclusion on the way what they understood. So when I start explaining to them, if it is equal, it's fine. Otherwise, it leads to confusion to them totally. So hence I don't do that usually, right? So that was
So,
the question. The reason why I
uh,
don't send anything to them.
hello, Raj.
Yeah.
So, are we following the syllabus?
Sorry.
The syllabus, right? The one we got in the email. So, are we following that one? Can we follow? I mean, the syllabus that
You're talking about, right?
yes, the
One
B
minute.
syllabus.
Just be online for a moment.
Okay.
I think it must be there here with me.
Yes.
I follow the same.
Yes. So if we want to know like what's ahead, then we can just follow the syllabus, right?
This is what we are discussing now.
Okay.
This was discussed.
Mhm.
This we are going to discuss tomorrow.
Okay.
Did you understand now?
Thank you.
Understood or not?
Yep. Thank you.
I think everybody can see now, right? So business analysis, planning and monitoring is done. Second was requirement illustration that I will be discussing it tomorrow. Okay, clear? Okay, fine. See you then. Bye. We'll meet tomorrow.